let's have a big hand for the winner of the Seattle Laugh-Off, Mr. Gary Larsen. Yeah! Yeah! Woo!
All right. Uh-oh, getting sick already. Too early. How many people are drunk already? All right. Thank you very much. I must say this is incredible playing Caesars at Tahoe, you know. It's such a joy, because, not so much that it's Caesars, but knowing that I'm playing right across the street from Slim Whitman. And you notice that shows the power of American television, you know, and especially commercials, as Slim Whitman is here. And they are very powerful. And they don't think about the stuff they've been doing lately, advertising people. You notice what they've been doing? I mean, they've been giving products some pretty weird names, like Gray Poupon Mustard. No thanks. Cheese Whiz. Cheese Nips kind of bothered me, too. I always wondered how the Japanese felt about that. You know? Cheese Nips, it's more than a snack. It's a racial slur.
Howdy! This is Buford Pusser. And I'm pissed. There's been a lot of violence in America. People are nervous. People are scared. They don't know what to do, don't know how to defend themselves. Can't call a cop. They're too busy hanging out at Denny's. Jiu-jitsu, karate, that stuff don't work. All that does is give you a chance to scream before you get your ass kicked. You know what you do? You're worried about getting attacked. Carry Alka-Seltzer. That's right. Somebody comes up to punch you, all you got to do is pop them in your mouth. Your problems are over. Run, want to fight? No way in hell you're going to get punched. Well, boys and girls, you've been good. And now it's time to take you to Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. Sorry I'm late today, boys and girls. Mr. Rogers had too much medication today. Can you say flashback? Sure. Today in our neighborhood, we're going to talk about where babies come from. They come from something their mummies and daddies do that's called intercourse. Can you say that? Nice try. Brought some visual aids for you today, boys and girls. They'll be on sale after the show. You know, in the female, there are two organs which are called the ovaries. And the ovaries produce a small seed, which is called the ovum. There you go. Now, the ovum sits in the ovaries until it matures. Pretty mature. At which point it travels down the fallopian tubes and into the uterus. Or for little boys in the audience, That's also known as mummy's oven. When it reaches mummy's oven, it can be encountered by what is called the sperm. I think he likes you. Stop that. What happens is the sperm and the ovum get together and form a baby. This case, a rather deformed baby, but a baby nonetheless. Now, there are certain methods you can use to keep this from occurring. Some you might know of, some maybe not. Very popular method nowadays, the diaphragm method. Look, he looks disappointed. Another very popular method nowadays, of course, intrauterine device. And last but not least, oral contraception. No! No, if any of these are used, of course, the sperm will die. Don't get that on you now. And the ovum will be ejected during menstruation. You'll need a napkin. Tall boy, see.
Thank you. One last thing for you. My grandfather was crazy. Now he's dead. But he left me with something before he died, a little saying that kind of changed my life and gave it a new direction. He said, "Gary, friends and lovers come and go, but insanity is something you always have." Keeping that, I'd like to bring back my grandfather and share him with you.
Oh, yeah. Oh. Mama, nice to see you all out in the park. It's a lot of people for a park. What is this, Woodstock? I'm telling you, I don't get out much myself anymore. No, not since they cut back on my Social Security. Yeah. Hell of a system they got nowadays, ain't it? Yeah. You don't die out in the first 65 years. They starve you out in the next 10. I don't know, this park's going to hell. Look at that, red, that's one of them Hare Krishnas. Harry Rahman, are you too, pal? Hey, you freak. Hare Krishna. Look like Kojak in diapers. They got all kinds of freaks out in the park nowadays. Hare Krishnas and Hindus and Moonies. Remember when a Moonie used to be a guy who hung his buns out of 57 Chevy. Nowadays it's a movement. Moonie had a movement in my day, there'd be a mess. Oh. Hi, Mildred. Hi, you going back to the store? That's the third time today. That is the fattest woman I've ever seen. Look at that. She walked the other way. It looks like her ass is chewing gum. Good night.
Hi. It's the Shell station where I work here in Algona. Population 500, kids and dogs capital of the Pacific Northwest. You know, since the laugh off, things have been going good for me, and they treat me a lot better around here.
Hey, Lardass, aren't you going to check the oil?
Yeah, Gus, I'll get to that. When I won the Seattle laugh-off, I went out that night, got in my car, my 72 Toyota with broken springs, and rattled it over to the Shell gas station where I worked. And they had the video cameras that look at you, which I used to practice my act on. And I went in, and I flipped off my boss on all 3 cameras and kind of let him know I wouldn't be coming back. I grew up on a small rural community in Algona, and Algona was a real Andy of Mayberry type town. There wasn't any comedy at all in Washington when I was growing up. There's no one to look at. Like if you lived in Los Angeles, you know, there was somebody around. So what we had was one Smothers Brothers album that was in the town library, and that and one by Bach. When I was growing up in Algona, we had a town sheriff. He actually drove a station wagon, not a police car. Didn't have lights or sirens or anything. He put on his emergency flashers and pull you over.
Pull yourself over, buddy. Yeah. Thanks. Give it.
And the guy, I swear to you, he could not read or write. He really couldn't. He had like been to 4th grade. Couldn't read or write. He'd like give out verbal warnings.
Now, how fast you think you was going? Now, I should probably write you up, but I'm going to let you go this time with a verbal warning.
I'm a nerd underneath, and it shines through unless I'm performing. I'm totally and completely afraid of people, and I think that's why I decided to perform. Being in front of 150 people is a lot easier than being in front of one person.
Before we get started with the next comedian, I'd like to introduce some judges here, which certainly lend a great deal of class to our production tonight. We have 2 very special people. Actually, we have 5 judges, but we're going to present 2 of them to you right now. The first gentleman sort of made crankiness lovable on Mork and Mindy. And he's now currently starring with Bob Newhart in the Bob Newhart Show. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tom Poston. Stand up, Tom. Oh. Wow. Neat guy.